Good evening. It is 7 o'clock and I'm going to start the Finance Committee meeting. And we will start with the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Elizabeth Lou.
Present.
And in the chamber.
Correct.
Alderman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
I'm here.
And joining us via Zoom. Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws.
I'm here in the chamber.
And Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien is present and in the chamber. And our chair, Linda Harriet Gatright.
I'm present in the chamber.
Okay. Yes. The clerk does have a question to Alderman Shoshana Kelly.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I'm alone and I can hear you. I'm sorry, I normally say that.
Thank you, Alderman. Appreciate it. Also expected to be present at tonight's meeting could be John Griffin, CFO Controller, David Fredette, Treasurer Tax Collector, both of the City of Nashua, Kim Kleiner, Administrative Services Director, Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Tim Cummings, Economic Development Director, and Corporate Counsel, Attorney Stephen Bolton.
Okay, thank you. Next is public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to have a comment?
Laura Cajon.
Would you please state your name and address?
My name is Laura Cajon. I live at 30 Greenwood Drive. I'm calling in tonight to say that I strongly disagree with the city in charging the tax abatement appeals consulting contract to the general fund account. It appears that the city of Nashua does not want the Nashua residents to know how much money of our tax dollars are going back to both the residential and the commercial property owners on abatements. And now the city is trying to put through assessing expenses through the general fund. Talk about hiding expenses from the Nashua residents. In 2011, there was an account that residents could clearly see to tell them how much money was being returned on abatements. However, the city no longer shows this line item. And if a resident wants to get the information, a resident must file a right to know, and we all know that our legal department does not like to answer right to know requests. By chance, a resident found out this year by going through expenditure reports that large sums of tax money was being returned for abatements. And now the city is trying to slip through regular expenses into the general fund when this should be charged to assessing. Also, looking over the list attached to the agenda tonight, some of these accounts have already received their abatements. Nashua taxpayers are currently paying Vision and our own assessors to do the job of assessing. And now this bill comes up for more help in assessing, and the city wants to bury it. I do not object to the bill. However, I object to the fact that the city is hiding it from taxpayers. This bill is for assessing, and that's where it should be charged. Nashua residents did not know that we have already paid $20,000 for consulting fee in assessing because the city swept it into general funds. This action is a clear violation of our trust with city officials. Do the right thing and charge this bill to the right account. This bill is for $150,000 and taxpayers should know about it. So do not sweep it under the carpet. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Public comments?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none. Communications from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager.
Thank you. From Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, multi-year contract for telephone landline service at the Hunt Memorial Building in the amount not to exceed $5,411.99, funded from account 53628, Contract Services, 131 Hunt Building. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a multi-year contract for telephone landline services at the Hunt Memorial Building to Comcast Cable in the amount not to exceed $5,411.99. Funding will be through Department 131 Hunt Building, Fund 53628, Contract Services, and I make this motion by roll call.
Is someone here to speak to that? No?
I'm on the line.
And I am as well.
Okay.
Director Cummings and Amy Durich of the Hunt Building.
Yeah. Okay. Amy DeRoche, is that right?
Yes, that's
Do you want
correct.
to speak to this?
Yep. So we currently have our landline through Fairpoint, but the lines are the old copper lines, which are being discontinued. So we need to port the line over to Comcast.
Anyone have any questions? Okay.
I do.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. Amy, it appeared by the contract that they're picking up the cost of the conversion. It's just the monthly cost to us. There's no additional, and maybe Director Cummings is the more appropriate here, but I looked through it and the only cost that I could see was the monthly cost. Miles is
I
helping.
believe-
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I believe there's a one-time fee of like $62, and the rest would just be the normal monthly fee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any further questioning? Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Lou,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
the clerk, Alderman O'Brien, votes yes. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
And the motion passes. From Kelly Parkinson, person to manager, software maintenance for admins in the amount of $73,740, funded from accounts 54407, software maintenance, 122, information technology. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to make the motion to accept, place on file, and approve the annual renewal for administration software maintenance to Administration Incorporated in the amount of $73,740. Funding will be through Department Number 122, Information Technology Fund, 54407, Software Maintenance. And Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion by roll call.
Thank you. Is there someone here to speak to that? Okay, Director Kleiner.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is for the annual renewal of our legacy admin system. The city has been working for a number of years to migrate away from this system. As many of you know, we moved a number of our assessing functions off of this to the new AP5 system. The remaining processes that we have on this software is the wastewater billing. And we are presently working, we have a team of IT working with our treasurer and tax department to move that to Munis. That will be the last process that we will have on this software. So we see no need to renew for fiscal 23, but we will need to renew for fiscal 22.
He's IT.
Okay, I'm not sure the pronunciation. Mr. Nick
Mr.
Bisovich, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, Director Kleiner addressed everything regarding the this piece. Thank you.
Can you give me the pronunciation of your name, last name?
Miservich.
Miservich. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Is everyone good? Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Lowe,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Yes,
Madam Chair, that's 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and the motion carries. From Kelly Parkinson, Person Your Manager, Tax Abatement Appeals Consulting and Appraisal Services Change Order Number 1 for in the amount not to exceed $150,000 funded from the General Fund Account 11500 Overlay. Is there a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a revised contract, change order number 1, for consultation and appraisal services for various tax abatement appeals between the city and Barry Cunningham Valuation Research Counseling in the amount not to exceed $150,000. Funding will be through Departments 132 Assessing and 103 Legal Fund 11500 Overlay Account by roll call.
Director Kleiner, is this yours? I'm not sure. Was it?
Well, I can probably speak more to it.
Okay, thank you.
This is, this particular one is for an appraiser that we use on large, expensive properties. Things like the big box stores, Best Buy, Lowe's, Kohl's, the anchor stores, which are separate parcels at the Pheasant Lane Mall. So it had been Sears for the tax years in question. It won't be Sears going forward. Macy's, Target, and in fact, both Target stores, the one at the mall and the one up on Amherst Street as well. So this individual in this firm, we've added more parcels to the list that they are doing the appraisals for us. This is to prepare for tax abatement appeals, either in Superior Court or at the Board of Tax and Land Appeals. This work is not anything that our in-house staff is prepared or able to do. And significant tax dollars are at stake. And it's our feeling, certainly in the legal department, that this expertise is needed and will ultimately save us money in the long run.
Any questions?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Alderman Liu, through you to corporate counsel. Could you comment on the caller's comments? Specifically, have we always put these charges through the overlay account, or have they previously been charged elsewhere?
Well, always is a long time. I would say for at least the last 15 years, they've been charged to overlay. No different than what's been going on, no different from what is contemplated here. All funds come out of the general fund. Anything that comes out of the general fund has to be made available by appropriation that the Board of Aldermen passes. Funds over a certain amount and contracts over a certain amount have to be approved by the Finance Committee. Contracts that go on for more than a single year have to be approved by the full Board of Aldermen. There is nothing unusual going on here. There is nothing that hasn't been done this exact same way for more years than I can remember.
Can I do a follow-up?
Yes.
So partly I don't understand the overlay. I understand that the state tells us what our overlay contribution is each year.
No.
Not the state, or no, we determine it?
Yes.
Okay. And it's meant for abatements as well as the costs to, negotiate, et cetera?
Its primary use is to pay for refunds resulting from successful abatement applications or appeals. It also is available for expenses related to the defense in those types of cases, abatement
Okay.
appeals.
And a follow-up, please. So one question I have is I didn't see any difference in the list of properties for the change order and the list that was presented with the original contract for $20,000. I think you said that there was new work added to it.
There has been. When we originally entered into the agreement with Mr. Cunningham's firm, we didn't know how much we'd be using him for. We listed a lot of properties, asked him to take a look, make sure that he thought that they were within his field of expertise. As we got more involved with him on a few properties, we realized that, yes, we did want him to do all of the properties we had listed. We may still be adding more.
Okay, I have a couple of other questions. Has he completed anything from the original contract? I know we've paid out about $24,000.
We have had some things that he has done all the work we have asked him to do. In certain cases, we use his expertise up to a point, but do not ask him to complete the final report. Typically, those cases resolve. We discover we don't need a final report, although we probably have used the expertise he brings to bear on it to guide us in our negotiations.
Okay, so he has worked on many of these for the 24,000. I'm just a little confused that both of the work orders are the same. Originally for 20,000, and currently it's now an additional 130.
The 20,000 was never going to be the total amount. That was sort of a get started situation.
Okay. And just, I think, one more follow-up, if I could. I had a question about the budget meeting when assessing presented to us. And I recall that the line item for, I think, other contracted services was lower. And we were told that that was because we now have a fully, I think Mr. Vincent is fully qualified to do commercial assessing. And so I just wondered about that. That just seems a little bit different than now receiving a proposal to hire someone for commercial assessing.
Madam Chair.
I was not, if I can finish, I was not here for the budget meeting with the assessing department, but my understanding is you're now talking about two different things. Prior to Mr. Vincent being hired, a man named Rex Norman was doing consulting, and in that capacity was essentially operating as the supervising assessor to the other assessors in the office. Also, we were using a man named David Cornell on a general consulting basis for his expertise in municipal assessing. And he provided some overall guidance in reviewing the operation of the department, the techniques that were being used, and provided guidance in that way. Now that Mr. Vincent is on board, we no longer have the need for Mr. Norman's services. So I think that accounts for some, and we probably are making much less use of Mr. Cornell, but he's a valuable resource. So I wouldn't be surprised if over time we wanted to consult with him again. But what we're talking about in the item that's under consideration now is a independent fee appraiser to use as expert witness in individual cases. That is not something that we would use Mr. Vincent for typically.
Thank you, Corporate Counsel. Alderwoman Kelly?
Many of my questions were asked. I was going to ask about our new chief assessor and what role he could potentially play. And the other question I had was just the jump in, going from 20,000 to 150,000. It does sound like there was an answer there, but I wouldn't be upset by a little bit of a more thorough explanation. I get it. I'm a consultant, but we're jumping almost 6-7 times from what our original contract was.
The $20,000 was never an estimate of what the total expense would be for all of these properties.
Could I follow up?
Yes, follow up, please.
And so do we anticipate that this up to 150,000 will cover the remainder of the work we need to do, or are we going to be facing another change order?
That depends on what settles and what has to go to trial. So it's not very possible to give a definitive answer today. We hope that 150,000 will cover it all. It might not.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, please.
Follow
I
up?
think that Director Kleiner was going to, I know Director Kleiner presented for the assessing department, and I thought she was going to clarify my question about what was said at the budget committee meeting regarding we won't need to have be hiring out for assessing. So, Ms. Kleiner, were you going to explain?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I was going to explain, I think Corporation Counsel did the best job, but he is exactly right. So that line was used for Mr. Norman when we did not have an acting chief on board. The city is fortunate now to have Mr. Vincent, and we would consider, if needed, hiring David Cornell in some capacity moving forward. But that has not been determined as a need as of yet. But that was the line that was used for Mr. Norman. And that's why you see a reduction.
Do you
Just
have
a
a follow-up?
comment? Just a comment? Yeah, follow up. Part of my concern is, I mean, I do feel it would be best, but maybe that's for legislation, to show these charges in a more a clear way, I think. But I wonder how we're doing, whether we're being more contentious than we need to be. But that's not for me to, I don't mean to insult anyone. I don't mean that exactly. Could you tell me how are we doing with the cases that have gone to trial recently? Has there been any settlements, and how are we doing with for instance, I know Ms. Ortolano, her case has been settled.
It was not settled.
Okay.
It went to trial, a hearing before the Board of Tax and Land Appeals, and we've gotten a decision. It was not settled.
Oh, I'm sorry. The decision, that's what I meant. I guess the legalese is a settlement is actually an agreed an agreement between two parties. What I meant is you received okay. So did we prevail?
The decision came down between the number we had originally assessed the property for and the number that her expert was contending.
Okay.
And like most of these, it comes out somewhere in between.
The reason I ask is I just, I'm concerned about the money we put into, I'm surprised, not concerned. I didn't realize, it came as a surprise to me that we spent this much money outside of what we see in the budgeted amounts for assessing and legal. But no further questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Director Kleiner, CFO Griffin and I have been speaking about this today. And certainly Corporation Counsel is correct. For the number of years that I can speak of that I've been with the city, this is where you've seen these charges charged, is the overlay account. We certainly understand that there seems to be some interest in seeing the charges and the action within the overlay account, and CFO Griffin and I can work to put something together to prepare for, probably most likely it will go to the Board of Assessors, and certainly then any members of the public that would like to see it. Both CFO Griffin and I watch this account very closely. Assessing does a lot of calculation. Once we have received all the abatements in any given year to calculate our exposure for how those abatements may be settled and what may be refunded to taxpayers. So certainly we can provide more information, and we will work to put something together to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
May I just follow up?
Yes.
I just wanted
Alderwoman
to,
Lou.
thank you. I wanted to clarify that, yeah, when at the budget meeting, when we were told that we've reduced our consulting services, partly because we now have a very qualified chief assessor, it's partly my unfamiliarity with where these charges, where these costs get charged in our budget. So I apologize for that. I took that to mean that we wouldn't need to hire outside, help for anything for assessing. So that is where my confusion and inquiries began. So now I know where to look for it. So that makes a difference. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, unfinished business?
No, excuse me, Madam Chair, you have to call.
Oh, I'm
call the
sorry.
vote.
Yes, call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Lowe,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderman Harriet Cathright.
Yes,
Madam Chair, that's 5 yeas, 0 nays.
motion carries. Unfinished business,
There is none.
new business, resolutions,
There are none.
new business, ordinance,
There are none.
record of expenditures. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make the motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures from the period from May 28, 2021 to June 10th, 2021 by roll call.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Alderwoman Lowe,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderman Harriet Cathright.
Yes,
Madam Chair, that's 5 yeas, 0 nays.
and the motion carries.
open.
Okay. General discussion. Any further public comments?
Lori
Can you hear us?
Ortolano.
Laura
Yes,
Cahoon.
please give your name and address, please.
Laura Cahoon.
Gathright, can you
Drive.
just make sure we're still live? It looks like the CTV put up the end of the meeting, perhaps accidentally.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, you guys are black, but we definitely got
Um,
that this has been a presentation. That's why I wanted to make sure we were still live
Yeah,
before we.
yeah, Brandon, you
the
gotta
public
check, make sure Jim didn't keel over. Everybody,
There they are.
We're back.
He's alive.
Can I ask my question?
1 second, please. Are you good?
here you go ahead.
Okay. Yes, you may speak now. Sorry.
I'd like to ask the Finance Committee where on the general fund appropriation detail does the overlay account show up for the residents so that they can see? I've gone through the whole budget and I haven't come up with anything that says an overlay account. So why is the city hiding these figures from us? If they're going to be paying out all this money to commercial and residential people, plus paying expenses through it, it should somewhere be on the budget so that we can see how much we're paying. And if anybody could answer me, I would really appreciate that.
Well, this period of time is for comments, ma'am.
Well, does anybody ever answer a
We're
question?
not here to answer questions right now. If you have comments, please make them.
Bolton seems to say so much. Why can't he answer me?
Do you want to provide comments?
That is my comment. You people are wasting my time and every other resident's time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lori Ortolano.
Yes, give your name and address, please.
Yes, Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. First of all, I want to give you a heads up. Attorney Bolton did some nice soft shoe bull crap for you. The order did come down from the BTLA. And when he said it's usually somewhere in between, he backed an appraiser who went up to the BTLA and set the market value for 2019 at $800,000. They wanted the assessment on my house at $710 when equalized. The Board of Tax and Land Appeals set it at $577. That saves, the city would have upped my tax bill a couple grand. The Board of Tax and Land Appeal basically dropped my tax bill a couple grand. So it was a very big difference, not so much an in-between. And I'll tell you, it was a total waste of money and time with a vindictive legal office and mayor that had to pick a fight. And you probably spent 100 grand on that. As far as your overlay budget, it's secretive, sneaky, and not transparent. Fix it and make it transparent, because right now all of these settlements are handled in non-public session and not put out for the public to hear or see or get a copy of. We don't even know when to ask for them. I'm going to start submitting a revolving every 2-week right to know to get those settlements. And anyone who wants to complain that the 24 right to knows I file a year can stick it where the sun don't shine, because this is the way you want it.
Go ahead. Listen.
Create some transparency for us. And the other thing is that sheet is not updated. And every one of you should be asking, why are we doing 2018 appraisals in 2021? You are now hiring an appraisal guy who has to go back and try to create a market value from 3 years ago. And why doesn't that sheet show 2020 appraisals that need to be done for all these abatements that have been filed in 2020? I think Attorney Bolton is not laying it out truthfully to you. I think there's going to be a lot more money to spend. And I think you should know that right now. This is not really right. And that list is not updated. Some of those have already settled. Give us updated material because it's the only way the public can follow. Thank you.
Remarks by Alderman.
Excuse me, was I heard or was I off the air? I can't even tell.
You were heard very clearly.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd like to make a remark.
Okay, Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. I would just like to say, I know the overlay it's not in the budget book, but it is an asset account. And the charges to the overlay are found in the record of expenditures every 2 weeks when they come out. It's usually the first item on the record of expenditures, but it's not a budgeted. But I don't know if it's a budget. It doesn't seem to be.
I can clarify this if you wish, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Corporate Counsel.
The overlay amount is determined by the mayor and approved by the Board of Aldermen. Typically in August or September, it's not approved at the same time as the annual budget. But it is, as was just stated, always the expenditures from that line are always included in the record of expenditures that is approved by this finance committee twice a month. The backup for that is always available. Invoices are submitted. Any settlements have to be approved by the Board of Assessors. Decisions ordered by the court or the Board of Tax and Land Appeals are processed and can be found in the record of expenditures. Mrs. Ortolano's appeal cost nowhere near $100,000 for the city. I don't know what she paid her attorney or the consulting expert that she used. There is nothing being hidden. This is being done the same way it has been done for many, many years before Mrs. Ortolano ever became interested in the process. Nothing was changed in order to hide it from her or anyone else. In spite of accusations from all sides, I have never said anything untrue to this body, the Board of Aldermen as a whole, any court, any tribunal. It is not fun to be continually accused of that.
Thank you, Corporate Counsel. Okay. So non-public session,
No reason for it, Madam Chair.
adjournment.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to adjourn by roll call.
Please call the roll.
Alderman Lou,
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes, Alderman Harriet Cathright.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
And the motion carries. The Finance Committee meeting is adjourned at 7:38 p.m.